All right, everybody, we are back for the afternoon session of the last chance qualifier to the WESPAC Championship this weekend. My name is Will Anderson. Yes, I'm back on Twitch, and I am joined by none other than former world champion and this PAX weekend's runner-up, David Eldar. David, how are you doing today?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy to have a chance to commentate a bit with one of my Scrabble heroes, the great Will Anderson.
That heroship is mutual for sure,
Yeah.
and this game is about to get underway with two 4-0 players who are in the driver's seat to qualify for the Westpac Championship starting this weekend.
So, do we know how many games are required to qualify into the championship?
I think it is dependent on the player's results. I think it's something like the top 25%, as we see Opeyemi Oloro just slapping down Yumiak. That looks pretty approved to me.
That's a pretty good start. You're pretty happy to see that.
Yeah, that especially with the extremely low amount of time used to plop that one down. And Nick Ball, Opeyemi's opponent at 4-0 as well. I think I definitely remember Nick as a competitor on the world stage. Not surprised to see him doing well.
Is Nick Ball originally from the UK?
He is, yeah. I think living in the US now. But,
yeah, I think he's been living here for quite a long time, and I think he's a pretty advanced player, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he might be one of the top 2 or 3 seeds coming into the last chance qualifier. So again, no surprise to see him doing well. He's got a Z and a bunch of O's.
Right now I would hope he's going to play ZOO or ZOOT.
Yeah,
Or
looks like
okay.
That's now I know that there are some variants of these Zuia and then Zoea that are not valid. I think this one is valid, but I would be tempted to just give this a extra 5 if I was at all unsure in Opeyemi's shoes.
I actually think most players around this level are definitely going to know this word. I'm pretty surprised that Nick put the Z right next to that double letter score, which gives away a ton of points, and you can see right now he's getting massively punished for that.
Yeah, that's true.
With Jete coming down for 60-ish.
Yeah, that's pretty huge with that Z right next to the double, as you point out. So maybe you're thinking try to avoid that if possible and play one fewer vowel to avoid getting hammered there.
Yeah, in general, you want to avoid putting the Z next to any word doublers, basically, because the Z is worth 10. So obviously next to the double, that becomes a very easy 20 points for your opponent because ZE, ZO, and ZA are all valid.
Yeah, and it did manifest itself there pretty quickly. So Opeyemi off to a pretty big start there to open this game. And Nick, on the other hand, is in a pretty brutal spot without much to do off of that J, which is a shame.
Yeah, that just goes to show how critical making small mistakes like that in the beginning can be. I mean, define small, I guess, but it adds up quickly.
Yeah. Every game is sort of different. Some games are like a tightrope where even the slightest little inaccuracy can just throw everything off, and in other games you can pretty much do anything you want and still
that's definitely true.
And still win. So it's hard to know. You can't really know what type of game you're destined to play until you sit down and make a few moves.
Well, I mean, it's tough now. He also played off his E, and E is one of the most flexible letters in the game. And without an E now, with a V as well and a U, 2 O's, this is one of the worst racks you can possibly have. All sorts of trouble now. His win percentage for this game is probably already pretty low.
Yeah. And by the way, for those that are watching on Twitch, I have my phone up. I'm not sure if you guys are chatting or if my phone is just a little slow, but feel free to say hi to us in the chat. We are excited to be joining the well over 100 viewers, and I think we actually got into the 200s. So if you guys want to say a quick hi to me or David, just to let me know that you're out there. That would be great. Otherwise, I think I need to refresh my Twitch here. So,
yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah, let's see what happens if we do that. Anyway, it looks like Nick played NON alongside the J. That seemed to be the best I could find. And then Genti, the reply for Opeyemi.
Okay, that all looks pretty normal.
Seems all right to me.
Yeah. So now Nick again. I mean, here's the problem with holding onto VU. Another U comes in. Yep, have to change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he does.
Oh
Or is
no.
this a?
Oh, it's a challenge.
This looks like a challenge.
Okay, fair
Okay.
enough.
Yeah, interesting. So, this is a classic thing that's a little bit different about some of the Scrabble playing, environments. We have a challenge rule where if you challenge a word and it ends up being good, the player who played it gets an extra 5 points. That really incentivizes players that are unsure to just get up and go take a look. It's not that big of a penalty, though it can add up if you keep challenging valid words repeatedly.
I think Nick may sense after seeing 2 U's and a V on his rack that if this word is valid, this game is already in dire straits.
If he has
And
any doubt, yeah.
yeah, is thinking that maybe if I can get this word off the board somehow, that I can get back into the game, because right now it's looking like he may even have to change.
Yeah, the UV combination, famously terrible in
Yeah.
Scrabble, and the reason for that is, you hear that said a lot. The actual reason for it is quite simple. There just aren't very many words containing those two letters together. So when
Yeah.
you have them on your rack, your options are severely restricted,
Yeah.
and you see it playing out right now.
Yeah, now it's hard. I mean, he can change, or his options are, as you said, there's very few words with UV, so maybe GUV could go down.
Yeah,
That's probably what he has to play, kind of strangling that area. And I don't know, Uvius is another option.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, when you're talking about plays like that, which score so
10,
few
10-ish
points,
The
giving
thing
up your
is,
S, I do feel like exchanging.
if he doesn't play in that area, though, Opeyemi is gonna score a mozza. I mean, maybe not with this exact rack,
True.
but in general, that's going to be quite a massive spot and quite easy for him to access the triple, the double double, the blue square under the E. Quite easy to just stick an X there for 50, or even an F like he has
He
for
does,
a
yeah.
very easy 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess the one saving grace for Nick is he does have that S, which if he is able to draw something immediately with it, pluralizing Umiak, that would end up being a very big score. He almost needs a play like that to materialize here.
Yeah, and he just changes. Yeah, it's hard. What else are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, Uvius was
Yeah, it's ugly.
ugly
Also,
as well.
it hurts to get rid of the S here, because you can play Umiax for 15 points quite easily. And if you have an obvious hook like that with the S available, generally speaking, the S increases in value. So Nick has probably picked up on that. He's a pretty sharp player. I'm guessing he was thinking about that when he made that change. And yeah, hopefully that pays off for him and he can get back in this game.
So it looks to me like he drew another S, but a bunch more consonants to go with it. And what is Opeyemi doing? He's just played fob
Okay, that's
through
cool.
the O, giving up some scoreboard points there.
All right, forget the points. He's just going for another bingo and trying to end this straight away.
Yeah, certainly would have been tempting to grab that spot under the E of Genti with that F.
Yeah, DOF is what you're thinking, probably.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you do go a little bit harder for a bingo with this, and potentially by placing an O under the G, you make the triple word score on that left middle side of the board a little more accessible, but I think I would have liked getting a few extra points.
So here's one for the chat. And you can see Opeyemi's play paid off this time, so maybe he knew. Does he have a valid 9 playable here, or is that not a word? Is what I'm thinking valid?
Oh,
I'm just checking that out right now, because I'm not 100% sure myself.
Out? Is it an out word that you're?
Yeah, that's right. Nope, not valid. Excuse me. Sorry.
Okay.
I thought the opposite of insert could be
Outserted.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I gotcha.
Yeah, I don't remember ever seeing it, but it sounds like such a word that
Okay.
how could it not be?
I've got you guys up with chat now, so I'm gonna pop this chat out.
Evil Budgie helps me out there that it's a noun. Thank you very much.
And we're gonna be able to respond directly to you guys as soon as I figure out how to pop this out. There we go. All right. So now I can tell you that the two of us are going to be able to see your comments, and we appreciate I'm seeing some nice comments already from you guys. We are happy to be here adding some commentary, and it looks like a nice play by Nick with the A hook to non.
Yeah, and Opeyemi has spotted his bingo, though, of stereoed, which is going to put him in an extremely commanding position.
Yeah, through that E of Genti. That looks for sure
that's
like
powerful.
he is about to play that. Only question is, with a word that has 3 E's in it, you've got 3 different positionings to evaluate here. You just got to figure out. I certainly feel like the most uppermost positioning makes the most sense to really wall off the entire bottom of the board.
Yeah.
So
I think you could make an argument for either place, really. I personally don't think these decisions matter too much. I think the difference between them might be a point or half a point.
and the clock
The
time.
clock, exactly.
Yeah.
You just want to play a move now. I don't think he's going to waste too much time on this.
I'm scrolling back up and seeing when I asked you guys all to say hello. So many of you did, and I didn't respond, and we appreciate it all. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, nice to see everybody in the chat.
So yeah, he hasn't played yet with this bingo that we know he saw.
He's definitely playing this.
We saw this now, David. We saw in the previous game against Opeyemi against Josh Sokol that he had a bingo at the end of the game, and he had a little theatrical flair as he eventually played that winning bingo. Is there any kind of theatrics going on here, or is this just calculation?
So, I mean, I don't know. Tell me what you think. I've obviously played with a lot of Nigerian players, and you may have as well. And yeah, as we saw last game, which might be very shocking to many of the American players, as we saw from the commentators, is when the game is sewn up, it's quite common for Nigerian players to toy with their opponents, putting losing moves on the board to make you think that you've won the game and they've somehow missed their obvious winning plays. Only for when the clock dips below 1 minute, they put the winning move down. Oh my God.
Maximum emotional punishment.
That's right.
Yeah. So I am no stranger on my own Twitch channel. I've done a lot of tournaments with my friend Luke Manowalabi and his organization, Mind Games Incorporated. Very strong presence in Nigeria. It is just something that you see as a matter of, that is part of the game.
Yeah, that's right.
Culturally.
Yeah, exactly.
You got a chance to, twist that knife a little bit psychologically, and they take that chance.
That's exactly the idiom I was thinking of, twisting the knife.
It can feel a little bit like that, I'm sure, in the moment. But at the same time, if you've been on the receiving end of it, I kind of, a couple times I have, and I've just kind of smiled and said, all right, kudos.
After the third time, you start to expect it. And then you can just sit back and relax once you know you've lost the game.
You can almost enjoy it.
You can enjoy it.
It's kind of funny.
You can enjoy it. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So in the meantime, things are definitely going off the rails here for Nick Ball. He has, through very little fault of his own, except I guess you could look back at that original play of Zuail, which put the Z next to that valuable double word score. If we had any quibble, that would probably be it.
Yeah.
But really, through very little fault of his own, the game's kind of gone off the rails.
It's swirled now for Opeyemi. He's not going to have any trouble finding that.
Yeah, for sure.
That is going to be almost completely impossible to recover from. That'll put him almost 200 ahead.
So the saving grace, of course, for Nick is that he is 4-0, and the format for the last chance qualifier, in case you guys are curious, is that the top certain number of finishers will qualify for the World Scrabble Championship or the WESPA Championship. So even though Nick is in trouble, deep trouble in this game, one loss is not likely to torpedo his hopes of qualifying for the WESPA event. As long as he just dusts himself off and keeps playing 3 good games to follow this up.
As long as he doesn't proceed to lose the next 3 games after this, he should be just fine.
Oh, very interesting. So instead of swirled and Umiax, which we thought would be kind of a gimme, instead we're seeing wrestled here.
Okay, well, it's good to know you can't hear us.
That's true.
Yeah.
And point by Scrabble there in the chat. Nice to see you there. That the play of wrestled, almost like Opeyemi has eyes in the back of his head, blocking dandiest through the E of
Oh my
stereoed.
God. Can he see Nick's tiles?
And
Especially Nick looking. I don't know if you guys ever have this feeling,
oh, he does
but
have
if
dandiest
oh,
still to
okay,
touch.
sorry.
Okay, yeah.
If that blocked my only bingo spot, I would straight away be thinking, "Oh my God, are my tiles too upright?"
How
Or
did you read
yeah,
that? Yeah.
exactly.
How did you read this?
Yeah.
But he will have it in another spot. Of course, once the score updates, you're going to see Opeyemi is up by getting up close to 200 points here. I don't think his score has updated all the way yet.
No, that's gonna put him to almost 300 or more, right?
Yeah. So rough go here for Nick. Benji Scrabble says, so what should we talk about for the next 30 minutes? Well, whatever you guys want. We're an open book, of course.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, we are happy to answer any questions you guys may have. Well, within reason. Be good, please. But yeah, surprised that Nick hasn't played Dandiest here yet.
Could it be possible he hasn't seen it? It's a little bit of an awkward spot.
Yeah, I think there are times more frequent than I would like to admit when a play like Dandiest through the second E of stereoed, your brain doesn't accept it because that extra hook of tut kind of gets in the way of seeing that it actually plays.
Yeah, you may not have in your head categorized that as an open 8 lane because you have to make another word in there, so you rule it out. Next thing you know, excuse me, you've missed quite an easy word.
Yeah, and the feeling when you discover that afterwards is not pleasant.
No, that's not good. I still think he's probably going to find it. I actually hope he does. Otherwise, because I could give him a good 2-3% shot in this game.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, well, I think we're down to pretty much 0.
There is an important nuance to discuss with a tournament like this where the top, I think it's something like 5 or 6 finishers will advance, or maybe it's the top 10. I think it was advertised for the last chance qualifier that the top 10 entrants would make it. So if you're trying to make that top 10, you do have some difficult considerations if you're in Nick's spot in the sense that you want to try to win this game at any cost, but you don't necessarily want to lose by an incredibly huge amount as you're going for that win.
Spread matters. Spread matters much more than the win in this situation. When your win percentage is down to the 1%, 2%, focus can move to just losing by as little as possible.
Yeah, just don't take on too much water so that you can win those tie breaks if you find yourself in that situation later.
Exactly.
So questions of when will I return to Scrabble PlayStation speedrunning? I can't say that's on my to-do list anytime soon. I had fun doing that just for a laugh on stream. But yeah, that was amusing. And I did see the play of Fitz on stream suggested earlier, the not valid word, but is the name of my beloved cat. So I appreciated that as well. This is Mr. Broccoli. This is round 5. So we've had our 4-round morning session, and now we are just getting started in our 4-round afternoon session. So we're in round 5, and a good question from.
Oh no! Oh, that's not good.
Oh wow! Surprising. Okay, so whatever little winning chances Nick may have had, I think are likely to have just flown out the window there.
Ouchie, ouchie, ouchie.
So let's see. Yeah, that's a surprising miss. And I do think that it's very likely for the reasons that you mentioned, David, of just not even sort of realizing that as a spot. Yeah. Look at this play by Opeyemi. What do you think of that leave?
Triple I. Here's a quiz for the chat. How much is 3 eyes worth? Let's see how well you know your leaves.
Yeah, we all know that 3 eyes is not helpful, but what is the precise number of points that it drags your expected value down for the next turn? So one guess of minus 11.2. That feels like that's
generous.
Very generous to the 3 eye combo.
I do know off by heart that 2 eyes is minus 7 to help you guys out.
So 3 would definitely get a harsher penalty.
The third one is a crushing blow.
Opeyemi's drawn reasonably well. He's drawn a blank and an R to his 3 eyes, but he's also drawn a 4th eye. So,
Oh my god. Yeah,
um,
that's that's gonna hurt.
but he's not too
2
worried.
is -11. Sorry guys, I think I got that wrong. Please excuse me.
Yeah, another guess of -21.2. So,
I thought it was. Well, I must have been wrong. Excuse me. Well, anyway, someone can check in the chat.
yeah, these are things that, as you know, as seasoned players, we do try to have a good understanding of what different tile combinations are worth in terms of equity, not the number of points that you're scoring, but how good are the tiles that you leave over for next turn. You can assign numerical values to that to help you choose between plays. That's sort of what we're talking about here.
Looks like the
Um,
robot reckons.
the
Wait, what?
the robot says
Okay,
-21
yeah.
for 3 eyes and -30 for 4 eyes.
Yeah,
So
that's probably because you're going to be changing most of the time you have
yeah,
4 eyes.
yeah. And what that -30 means is just sort of the expected value of your turn, next turn, is 30 fewer points than it would be with sort of a
Average
neutral
rack.
set of tiles.
And just so everyone knows, the neutral set of tiles on an average board scores 40 points. The average turn in this game, if you're playing as the computer would play, will be 40 points.
Yeah, which is that is a high standard, a
Yeah,
lofty standard
yeah.
to achieve that. It requires a lot of skills to be in perfect harmony, including finding every bingo that you possibly can, making every perfect decision between the values of tiles that you're leaving over. So it's very difficult to achieve that as a human being.
Yeah, for humans, you might be looking more at 30 or 35, or if you haven't managed to dedicate your entire life to this game, like these commentators may have.
That exactly. And the two of us have imagine I like to put it this way, David. Imagine your hobby and if you're out there in the chat and you've got lots of different hobbies, I give you all kudos for that. But imagine instead of those hobbies, if you were doing Scrabble or studying words or some other Scrabble related skill, that's what you get with us
In
here.
all that hobby time, yeah.
Yeah. Tommy Shelby in the chat, a name I recognize from many chess broadcasts. Thank you very much for stopping by. Glad to hear you're finding the broadcast entertaining. There's going to be lots of Scrabble coming over the next week. This is just the qualifier for the WESPA championship. This isn't even the championship itself. Not that you all shouldn't be here riveted watching this 332 to 142 game between these 4-0 players, but it's only going to get better from here.
Yeah, it's hard to know what Nick's going to be thinking. He's probably just thinking, how can I get out of here as quickly as possible and reduce the score as much as possible, I guess.
Yeah, suggestion of maybe playing Thanos with 2 ends, which is probably the only person who could turn this game around for Nick.
Yeah.
Assembling that Infinity Gauntlet here.
The real word NOH is probably coming down over the OF, I would expect, and he's already got it lined up. Is that a Japanese art form
It is,
or something?
yeah. I think it's a form of theater, Japanese theater. So amazing. We knew the definition of a word.
That's true.
Pretty good.
How are we pronouncing that?
Oh, I would just say no. Is that
yeah?
wrong?
I'm going with that too.
Yeah,
but my Japanese is not up to date.
Yeah. So it is one of those loan words. You might be saying, well, if it's Japanese, why is it playable in North American, or rather in English language Scrabble? And the answer is we steal words left and right from other cultures and countries where we don't have that word in our own language. We just grab it, add it to our own. Very thieving.
Okay.
Okay, different choice there. This still scores okay. But yeah, uses the A instead of the O, and
bit of a strange choice, but looks fine.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, there's not too much.
Yeah, Opeyemi decides to hang on to his eyes.
He does, yeah. He used his only consonant.
Maybe he's hoping to end in an OID bingo. That's what I'd like to see now.
Yeah, that D that you're referring to in the upper center of the board with that first D of dined does represent a pretty nice opportunity for Opeyemi or Nick to try to get a bingo down ending in D.
Looks like the best he's going to be stuck with is ovoid, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true.
Or video.
He's continuing to draw those eyes. So, and probably one too many vowel for Opeyemi to bingo there. But we're getting lots of people giving some context on the words that we're mentioning, including no. In Japanese, it is basically ability in most compound words.
Okay,
Interesting. Good
there
to
you go.
know. Oh, and wait, hold on. We just saw
Snotties.
snotties. Okay, there you go. Nick getting on the board with a bingo here.
I just think it's so hopeless when, I mean, to him, he probably thinks, okay, I've got a chance of drawing the blank now. I'm in with a tiny, tiny chance, but in fact, Opeyemi is sitting on the
Ooh, it looks like a
okay, challenge.
challenge. Okay, just a challenge we're seeing here of snotties, which is a very elegant word, I think, meaning a tissue or something like that.
Yeah, I think that could be right.
So yeah,
maybe someone
Opeyemi.
can define it in the chat.
Yeah, those are boogers. Don't fact check me. Well, we have our definition bot available. Okay,
Excuse me?
absolutely incorrect. It is a midshipman.
Does someone want to define a midshipman?
I mean, I assume a sailor of some sort.
The title of a young officer originally quartered amidships, which is also a valid word, by the way, which is a hook for midship, entering the Navy.
All right. So thank you to all the snotties out there on these open seas defending the various nations of the world. We salute you.
Have we got any navally inclined people in the chat that can help us out here?
That would be huge. We know Scrabble players come from all walks of life.
Yeah.
But if any of you are out there on the open seas watching on Twitch right now and you are a snotty yourself, please weigh in. We welcome you to the chat.
Taking a break from your naval duties
That's
to
right.
tune in for the WESPA qualifier.
And the play that you mentioned, David, does go down. Ovoid.
Okay. I reckon. Okay, so we were talking before that Nick wants to conserve his spread, but I actually think now he'll be looking at Wive with WAB and if to open a triple for himself, and maybe once in a very blue moon he could get a triple down and somehow get back into this game.
It's absolutely worth noting that the situation has indeed changed after Opeyemi's last two plays of Leary and Ovoid, both of which were incredibly low scoring, and Nick bingoing and scoring decently with his last two plays. So his winning chances are kind of on life support again. And he makes the exact play that you suggested here of Wive, and I wonder if Opeyemi will be able to pounce hard on this
Smart play.
So we'll just have to see. I think given that Opeyemi has two E's on his rack, it's going to be tricky to get a really big play through that E of Wive, but certainly he'll play something there.
Someone in the chat has pointed out Riki, a very obscure six.
Oh, very nice.
There's almost no way that Opeyemi is going to know that or spot that. I'm thinking there's almost no one in the entire field that's going to be very familiar with that word.
Yeah, but even just Reek will get the job done.
Should be a game ender.
Pretty well. Nick with an interesting set of letters there.
Here's some quiz for you guys.
Yeah, I know what you're going to quiz.
Nick's rack +1 makes at least two words I can think of. And one of them is a common word. So if you're an expert Scrabble player, don't answer that. Oh, never mind.
There we go. We got one answer from the Adam. Nice to see you. But the second one would be very impressive to see in the chat here.
That's for the real pros.
Yeah, that's so. Charcoal is a great find for those of you finding that from Nick's rack. There is one other extremely obscure word.
I reckon it's a harp.
Is that the definition?
I'm gonna say it's a harp.
Yeah.
I don't know why I know that.
It has a very.
So there's actually if there's any Australians watching, there was a. Yep. Thank you very much.
Nice one, K-Man.
5670.
There you go.
Yeah, there was a well-known Australian player, Michael Hornung, who was pretty high rated and has been playing for a very long time, who used to go by Clarsac on the ISC.
And you are correct. Look at that definition coming in. A Scottish folk harp. Very impressive to know that definition.
Also Claire Schach. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, the alternate.
Any Scots, any Gaelics in the chat? Help us out there.
If you are Scottish, then the lexicon used in English language Scrabble play should delight you,
Oh my
because
God,
there is a
yes.
lot of Scottish stuff in there in the worldwide English dictionary.
The
So
best Scottish words. I could go all day. I mean,
they're amazing.
how Magandy? How are we saying that? Hoch Magandy?
Yeah.
Clam jam free?
There you go. Another amazing one. So those are unlikely to hit the Scrabble board, but they are just delightful to know that they're in the dictionary somewhere. So you guys are mentioning maybe tweakier through the W of wrestled. I would say playing through that open E of wive is definitely warranted instead of bingoing through that W of wrestled. You really don't want Nick to get a chance to play a triple triple or 9-timer through that E of wive. So I think I favor Reek over a play like Tweakier through the W of wrestled here.
Yeah, I would even go as far to say that Reek is a no-brainer in Opeyemi spot, and he was pretty alert to that. If you know Reiki, which is an extremely advanced word that, like I said, maybe 5 or 10 people in the entire field of the world's final, not of this
Not of the
tournament,
qualifier, yeah.
would be familiar with.
Yeah.
They might know that, but yeah, if you're not a full-time Scrabbler, basically, there's no way you're going to know that word.
Yeah. So totally agreeing with that analysis. And now we see just gets played. It's kind of a self-descriptive word there.
Is that what that means?
I'm not sure.
That's what I've always assumed.
assume, but yeah, I don't know for sure.
You can't put an S on that, can you?
No, I do think it's some kind of interjection.
It's Scottish as well.
There you go.
Regret or impatience.
The theme is continuing on with the Scottish words. So
Okay.
So not sure if it's time yet, or if we have the ability yet to show the unseen tiles.
Basic practice says, is Reiki really so unknown? You actually had the wrong word there. The word we're looking for has been corrected. It's Reiki, which is a rare 6.
Yeah, Reiki is definitely more of a normal word in common knowledge. We're talking about some kind of archaic word meaning stinky, like Reiki, right? Like,
is that what it means? Yeah, Reiki. I've forgotten. I actually don't think it is, but let's take a look.
It's smoky or reeking.
Okay, you were right. My bad.
Yeah, well, I'm not exactly
close
right,
enough.
Close enough. Yeah. So, all right, Ariel, the play for Opeyemi, it does feel like the majority of Opeyemi's last few plays have been low scoring.
Is Nick getting back into this?
Yeah, to kind of let Nick get back here. If he can bomb that X, which I'm sure he can score decently with it somewhere alongside the eye of Snotties, looks great.
Snotties for 50.
So you can plop that X down there and actually work your way back into the conversation of maybe he can somehow win this game.
If only. I think, unfortunately, the blank is just too critical.
Yeah.
Maybe if Opeyemi overdraws and exposes his blank.
Yeah.
To be put back into the bag, there's a chance here. But I think without the blank, this is uphill climbing. But I'm always happy to see.
Let's see.
One of the greatest comebacks of all time.
This would be a crazy.
The 1%er.
This would absolutely be a 1%er. I have to imagine that we were down into that extremely slim winning chance area for Nick. But once he pops that X down for 50, he will have chances from his POV if he's able to pluck the blank, which we know he can't because it's on Opeyemi's rack. So.
Seems like someone is saying that UU is in the bag. So if Nick plays Axe, which is expected, he might draw Culture out of the bag and then
try Culturer.
Try it, yeah.
Reek. That could be something we see here. Unfortunately, that's not valid. But it is well worth a try if you are desperate to get a win.
There's a similar word I can think of without the L, Cuturer, and a few insertions can make a nice word. I'll write that down for everyone in the chat.
This is a quiz question here.
And you can insert letters wherever you feel like, guys.
Wow.
I'm just checking that I'm accurate there.
I'm not solving this one yet, so hopefully you guys in the chat get the quiz question here. I was thinking of
one solution.
I don't think it's that.
Not quite 5 Crabble.
um, yeah, I don't have it yet, so we'll see if you guys get the answer to the quiz question. Oh, couturier.
Oh my God, there's another solution as well.
Very nice.
Couturier is one, and there is one other solution that I don't think anyone's going to get. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Is it super long?
It's a long word. It's related to wine, I think. There is a popular board game with a similar name that I've heard of. A friend of mine has it. Maybe if you guys are really into board games that aren't Scrabble, you might be able to get this.
Wow.
Yeah, it takes a bit of out of the box thinking, but we need something to
Tide us over.
really put you guys to the test as well.
All right. Well, there you have it. A pretty good. Oh my God! Is that
Not quite.
that seems
Sommeliers of Catan.
good guesses.
Yeah.
Good guesses. All
right. I'll give you guys one more hint before I reveal it. It starts with a V.
Wow. What the heck is this? All right. Well, I'm waiting with anticipation to see what this is, but I'm also curious what is Nick thinking about here?
Yeah, what
as,
indeed? I
as
guess if
opposed
there's
to,
one in the bag, he might be trying to calculate if he can just play the X, and then next turn he can play Clartier to somehow win this game.
Oh, very interesting. That makes sense. Of course, the extra points are so important too, just to be able to. Are you seeing the right answer?
You guys are really close. I will give away the answer because I don't think it's possible. Oops.
Wow. Okay. Somebody just got there.
Just about to get there.
Just joshing, getting in. Well, several of you guys were right on the cusp. So
good tries, guys. Good tries.
Yeah. That's impressive. These sorts of feats of, word mastery are something that you would see pretty often in this context. A lot of folks here are pretty gifted with coming up with cool long word quiz questions. I am not one of those people. I am a tryhard. The words that I know are strictly because I've studied them for Scrabble specifically. So
I think that's probably true for a lot of people here. So yeah, it's always amazing when someone has a talent to come up with super long
actual talent as opposed to just elbow grease like I have. So Nick is almost certainly now, as you guys pointed out, he's drawn UU, and I'm sure he is thinking to himself, is there any way that culture is a valid word? He has to be thinking that now.
I was literally about to ask if you guys want more quizzes. As someone said, I like the quizzes because I've got them by the dozen.
More where that came from. I think the quizzes are especially useful in a game like this, which is maybe has most of the way been pretty clearly in favor of Opeyemi. So in the future, for our next 3 games coming up, we are very likely to get more hotly contested games where the analysis is going to be a little more in depth. But
well, I mean, if you look at the score, he almost snuck his way back in there. He blank
he could have created a brutally difficult situation for let's see. Okay. Lost our feed there for a second, but I could have made a really tough situation for Opeyemi, but as it stands, I think both players are the only thing both players have to think about. What do I do with this culture possibility? I could see Opeyemi get worried and block it preemptively, even though as we've said,
I'll throw out another quiz for chat with Opeyemi's rec, which I think is GIPPRU blank.
Yep, that's right.
Throw in a couple. 2 more T's. I can think of a word. Let me just check I've got that right.
So it's UPEGIRTT blank.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, see if anyone knows that one.
Yeah, so not sure if should we retype that out? So
that might be easier.
So I wonder if it's just better for us to just watch along on Twitch, even if it's a second or two delayed, just because the picture quality is
the picture
significantly better.
well done. The Adam 555. I want to say gruppetti, which is the valid answer.
Oh, that's amazing.
Because there's a
Correct
gruppetto
answer.
in cycling. So what is that? Can you help me out? I assumed it was a music thing for some reason. Sounds like an opera in my head.
And we see Opeyemi making this blocking play. I'm pretty sure that he is doing this just to be absolutely sure
Yeah, for sure.
that he doesn't lose to Culturer, which it does seem kind of plausible. I think it's worth, if you're at all suspecting that it might be a word, just block it and continue on.
Yeah, well, there is. Okay, I'm getting too many quizzes at once here, but there is multurer. Am I
That's
right?
true. That is a word.
Multerer.
That is a valid word. Yeah, you
That's a
could.
valid word that has another spelling because it means the same thing as something else. What is that?
I do not know the alternate spelling.
I'm quite sure. I'm
Yeah.
quite sure. Yeah, because mulcher, I don't think it's a verb, right? Mulchered, challenge.
I am agreeing with that. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. Yep, David Whitley.
David Whitley coming
Mouterer.
through with the right answer. Nicely done.
And the Adam helping me out here. A gruppetto, at least in cycling races, is a large group of riders that forms behind the peloton. Wow, that's actually excellent to know. And mulcher is a verb. Sorry,
okay,
guys.
sorry. There we go.
To take a fee for grinding grain. All right, why not?
So many interesting words for sure. Of course, we do tend to think of them as being just our units of play here. The definitions are not really relevant to the players in game, but man, they are fun to learn more about these words.
I also think as you get deeper and deeper into the game, it is just nice to know what these things are.
There's no question that it is helpful to know what the words you're playing mean so that you can know whether you can hook with an S or a D or an R or any of those other things. But it is also equally surprising, certainly to newcomers to the game, that how few definitions that top players really are required to know to play Scrabble at a really high level. So looks like the game has wound its way down here as Opeyemi blocking with gripped, and then Cruel played by Nick on the triple, and then Opeyemi going out with up in the upper left corner, and that's going to be the final, 448 to 405. Wow, that seems like a pretty small margin of victory, David, after how much of a blowout this looked to be.
Yeah, it can often be the case that when the game is such a blowout early, that one player goes into defensive mode, the other player goes into attacking mode. And although the game was over all along, because they were defending so much and because the other player was capitalizing on that defense, which scored so few points, the score can get quite close by the end. But I'm guessing Opeyemi knew from a very early point that he was going to be able to hold on here if he just did the right kinds of blocks, essentially, which is what he did. And he was able to come clean with a 50-point victory. And I'm guessing he's pretty much through to the World Championships finals now.
Yeah, either needing maybe one more win in his next 3 games, or potentially even almost there already with a 5-0 record, only 3 games to go in the qualifier. He is definitely in great shape. And of course, to Nick's credit, to only lose by 43 points here does not make a big dent in his overall record at all. That is not considered to be a significant loss. Margin of victory in Scrabble, when you're losing by 100, 200 or more, then you start to worry that your tiebreaker is going to be affected. 43 points should not do much to Nick here.
He'll be really happy to get that within 50. And a couple of notes here. So someone actually, what I was confusing it with, I think, was pulcher, which is also spelled poocher, which is not a verb.
Look at this definition.
To food for man. Sorry, can someone expand, please?
Yeah, we need an expert. We need a culture expert to come in and weigh on this definition, because I am very confused.
We struggled to get a naval expert before.
We did. So I'm guessing that this sort of forestry expert that we need.
What? Why? Hang on. Why are a man, horse, and a dog in a forest, and why not anyone else?
That sounds like the beginning of a joke. Whose punchline
a man,
like
horse, and dog go to a forest and have a right to food.
That's right.
Yeah.
There you go. somebody's got to punch up that joke for us there. But yeah, so that's a fun one. I'm not
Also,
sure I've seen that definition.
Tommy Fukin Shelby says, I knew that from X-Files. Sorry, did you know Mulcher from X-Files? What exactly was it that you knew? Because if someone actually has seen that word in real life, I'm pretty impressed.
I would equally be impressed there. So
Mulcher? Pulcher?
yeah,
Culture?
so
Vulture.
many, yeah, so many ultras. And the news that Opeyemi and Puneet Sharma, the only 5-0 players.
Okay.
So perhaps what we'll do while we get set for round 6, that was round 5 here, our first round of the afternoon. Maybe we'll take a quick break here as we get set for the next round and see if we can iron out a little tech issue or two behind the scenes. And David and I will be back in just a few minutes with our next round here at the Last Chance Qualifier for the WESPA Championship.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. See you shortly.